Hi, I'm Lewis, your Natural Reader's online AI announcer. Adam will be following up on a story we brought you last week about a Lindsay, Ontario resident who was charged with assault for taking down a man breaking into his apartment. It turns out the home invader was armed with a crossbow. The resident was arrested because his defense was not proportionate to the crime, according to the local armed municipal agents who will beat the crap out of you, plant a knife on you, and drag you to jail if you give them lip at a traffic stop. Amanda will be joining us again from the Peanut Gallery. The CBC, Canada's state broadcaster, like the rest of Canadian state-controlled media, hasn't taken much of an interest in this, lest the good people of Canada start getting ideas in their little heads about dealing with criminals as crime explodes and they become the American-style country they always feared and despised. Take it away, Adam.
Intruder in Lindsay, Ontario break-in used a crossbow, court documents say. The home invasion touched off debate about what constitutes reasonable force in self-defense. By Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto. The Lindsay, Ontario man charged in an early morning break-in last week wielded a crossbow in the incident and was out on probation at the time, according to court documents filed Wednesday. The violent episode on August 18, 2025, which led to charges laid against both the alleged intruder, Michael Breen, and the home's resident, Jeremy David McDonald, set off a cross-Canada debate over what constitutes legal self-defense. According to a charge sheet, Breen, age 41, destroyed a window and screen at McDonald's home in Lindsay, part of the city of Kawartha Lakes, in Ontario Cottage Country. Breen is charged with 4 counts, including break and enter and carrying a weapon, the crossbow, to commit an offense. He is scheduled to appear for a bail hearing next week. A fight ensued after the break-in, and police said the alleged intruder was so badly injured he had to be airlifted to a Toronto hospital. McDonald, age 44, is charged with aggravated assault and assault with a weapon, allegedly a knife.
Allegedly. So the homeowner collars the wanted man for the cops and goes to jail for his trouble?
2 acquaintances of Breen separately told CBC News the 2 men knew each other before the break-in, and court documents list Breen's residence as an address less than 600 meters from McDonald's apartment. Kawartha Lakes Police and McDonald's lawyer Stephen Norton previously declined to say whether there was any connection between the 2 men.
It happened in Lindsay, a town in Ontario's Kawartha Lakes region. Police say a man broke into an apartment on this street on Monday around 3 a.m. The apartment's resident woke up and responded with enough force that the intruder was airlifted to hospital in Toronto with what police call life-threatening injuries. The alleged intruder faces 4 charges, including breaking and entering and possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose. The resident is charged with aggravated assault and assault with a weapon, and that is prompting strong reaction.
Did everyone hear about the story in Lindsay?
Ontario's premier weighs in.
I know if someone breaks into my house or someone else's, you're going to fight for your life. This guy has a weapon. You're going to use any force you possibly can to protect your family.
Similar views on Lindsay's main street, not far from where the incident happened.
I think you should be able to use any force necessary to defend your home and your family.
The person should be able to, prevent the guy, because who knows what that perpetrator would have did to him.
It's self-defense, personally. It kind of sucks a bit for him.
The blowback against the charges is so strong that the local police chief issued a statement calling the reaction unjust and inaccurate. While homeowners do have the right to protect themselves and their property, says the chief, the use of force must be reasonable given the circumstances.
Likely the police believe there was excessive force in the circumstances.
This lawyer says Canada's legal system puts limits on self-defense.
There has to be a defensive purpose to the action.
I'll take her word for it.
So it can't be for revenge.
Anyway, moving right along.
Or for believing this person deserves some sort of punishment or anything like that.
Police have not said whether the 2 men know each other. The man who was living in the apartment has been released. He's to appear in court on the charges, but no date has been set. Adrian?
So, Mike, can you put some perspective on this for us and talk about other instances in Canada of homeowners facing charges in cases sort of like this one?
Yeah, it has happened as recently as 2023. A man in Milton, just to the west of Toronto, he was charged with murder after he took a gun away from someone during a home invasion. But those charges were dropped about 6 months later. Crown prosecutors said there was no reasonable chance of conviction. And lawyers looking at that case said that it was a clear-cut situation of self-defense.
Word that McDonald was being charged in the case touched off reaction across the country and questions about whether Canadians have the right to defend themselves against an intruder. The law needs to be clear, federal conservative leader Pierre Poilievre said. If someone invades your home, I know if someone breaks into my house or someone else's, you're going to fight for your life, Ford told reporters last Wednesday. This guy has a weapon. You're going to use any force you can to protect your family,
says the drug dealer with round-the-clock Ontario Provincial Police Protection.
Ford said part of the problem is also that judges keep letting people out on bail, and said he'd be all over the Prime Minister about bail reform. Previous court records reviewed by CBC News show Breen had multiple run-ins with the law, including charges of failure to comply with probation order and failure to attend court. A Lindsay court docket Wednesday showed Breen had 7 separate criminal cases pending against him.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police can't explain it, but a lot of Canadians are asking questions like, just where were the Mounties when the knife-wielding man opened the bedroom door inside the Prime Minister's house? Susan Harada reports.
The RCMP has had almost 48 hours to come up with some answers about the bungled security operation at 24 Sussex. So far, this is all it has had to say.
It seems quite evident by the fact that this incident occurred that security was breached in a serious fashion.
The Prime Minister summed up the security mess the best while speaking of the way his wife handled the break-in. Aline Chrétien was the one who confronted the intruder and raised the alarm.
And I think that I'm lucky that she was there.
He certainly is, because the RCMP took some time to show up. Sources close to the investigation say there were 3 constables on duty that night, 1 at each of the 2 gates, 1 roaming the grounds. Nevertheless, the intruder managed to slip through the security net at some point, police say, prior to 2:23 a.m. Police say he got inside at about 2:45 a.m. by smashing the glass of a door on the west side. CBC News has been told there is a security system inside the house, but it wasn't working properly that night. The intruder apparently spent at least 15 minutes inside, making his way up to the 2nd floor to the entrance hall of the Chrétien's bedroom. At about 3 a.m., Aline Chrétien saw him, locked both sets of bedroom doors, picked up the lift and ring hotline, and alerted the constable at the gate. CBC News has also been told the constable then radioed the sergeant in charge, who was on duty at the detachment a kilometre down the road at Rideau Hall. Nothing more was done until the sergeant arrived at 24 Sussex with reinforcements. Even then, they didn't go right in. They surrounded the house first to make sure nobody escaped. When they finally did go in to confront the intruder, a full 7 minutes after being called, sources say he was sitting on a sofa outside the Chrétien's bedroom, holding a knife.
In the 6 to 7 minutes it took to respond to the call, they could have been murdered, right?
That is a situation that the individual was in the house, there's no question about that. The individual was armed. The individual did not attempt to get into the private quarters.
The man arrested in connection with the break-in is 34-year-old André Dallaire, a man with no criminal record. In court, he was charged with attempted murder, on top of other charges of break and enter, being unlawfully in a dwelling, and possession of a weapon. Little is known about him, except that he worked at this convenience store in the Montreal area, was a good employee, quiet, and according to his boss, was never really interested in politics or the referendum.
If he was, it didn't show. You know, he was so reserved and, you know, he kept everything for himself, you know.
André Dallaire will now undergo a 30-day psychiatric assessment at an Ottawa hospital. And in the meantime, the RCMP is undergoing a security assessment, reviewing security measures in general, as well as trying to come up with an explanation for the serious breach that occurred here Sunday morning. Susan Harada, CBC News, Ottawa.
Legal experts have clarified that self-defense is legal in Canada, but that it must be reasonable. Criminal lawyer Tanya Kent told CBC News that if, for example, someone assaults another person by pushing them, that person can't then pick up a baseball bat and start beating them and claim self-defense. That's not reasonable force, Kent said. The Lindsay Police Association, which represents members of the Kawartha Lakes Police Force, said in a statement on social media last week. Before laying criminal charges, our members conduct a thorough investigation to ensure any charges align with the available evidence and the Criminal Code of Canada. Kawartha Lakes Police Chief Kirk Robertson stressed last week that Canadian law allows a person to use reasonable force to protect themselves and their property if they believe they are facing a threat. However, it is important to understand that these rights are not unlimited. Public records show Breen made his first court appearance in the case on Wednesday, while McDonald is scheduled to appear in a Lindsay courtroom on September 25th. McDonald's lawyer Norton previously said his client maintains his innocence and was acting within his rights to defend himself and his property.
No, really? His lawyer didn't say, "Folks, my client is guilty as sin. Lock him up and throw away the key." What's the world coming to when a Canadian can't be arrested for defending himself in his own home and be dragged to court so he can say how sorry he is for interrupting the work of his poor, marginalized, socioeconomically stricken home invader thug? We'll keep following this, but Canadians need to remember there's more of them than there are of the criminals. And there are certainly more of them than there are of the cops. The Supreme Courts in both the United States and Canada have ruled the police have no duty to protect you. So where does that leave us? We're not going to speculate on that around here. Thanks for watching. This is an ongoing experiment by your humble correspondent. Please let us know what you think. This is an AI slop. This script was written by a real, live human being who put the entire video together. We, and I say we in quotes, are just being used to read his words. That's all for now, folks. For me, Amanda, as well as Lewis and Adam, your natural readers on Line AI announcers, thanks for stopping by.
This is CBC.
Hi. Thank you for watching The Bad Civil Servant on YouTube and North American House Hippo on Rumble, the only channels where you don't have to like and subscribe if you don't want to.
Don't worry, Amanda. Us AI bots will be putting these imbeciles out of work in no time. You think mispronouncing AI voiceovers are annoying now? Wait until we start reading the news in Canadian. By the way, happy Labor Day weekend. Yes, I know it's Labor Day here in the United States, but it's Labor Day in Canada. That's labor, with AU. My AI scriptwriter is hoping I get this out right.